Let's settle it. No decade did sci-fi like the 1980s. The hair was big, the synths were loud, and the movies, they built universes out of sweat, neon, and pure guts. While modern blockbusters drown in pixels, these 15 films keep blowing our minds, decades later. Why do 80s sci-fi classics still leave modern movies in the dust? Grab your hoverboard, dodge the xenomorphs, and find out. But don't get comfortable. Some of these picks might hit you where you least expect. Blade Runner 1982. Step into a rain-soaked Los Angeles, where every shadow hides a secret, and every neon sign pulses with existential dread. Ridley Scott's Blade Runner isn't just a movie. It's an atmosphere, a brooding electric daydream where humanity and technology blur beyond recognition. Adapted from Philip K. Dick's feverish imagination, this film dares to ask the big questions. What makes someone human? Can a memory be manufactured, and would you even know if it was fake? But don't let the philosophy fool you. Blade Runner is as much a visual feast as it is a mind-bender. Scott and his team built a living, breathing world using nothing but practical effects, miniatures, matte paintings, and a haze of rain. No digital shortcuts here. Every frame is a piece of art you want to get lost in. Vangelis's haunting synth score floats through the fog, pushing the mood even deeper into your veins. On release, Blade Runner flopped at the box office and split critics down the middle. Too weird, too dark, too slow, they said. Now, those very flaws are what make it a cult monument. Rutger Hauer's Tears in Rain speech, still unmatched for raw, human poetry in any sci-fi film. Modern directors trip over themselves to mimic its vibe, but nobody does it like the original. Blade Runner isn't just a movie you watch, it's a place you go and never really leave. The Terminator 1984. Here's the blueprint for all those relentless, unstoppable villains that came after. A killing machine sent from the future, programmed to erase hope before it's even born. James Cameron's The Terminator didn't just launch a franchise, it changed the rules for what a sci-fi thriller could be. Arnold Schwarzenegger, barely speaking a word, became an icon overnight. Every movement, every stare is pure menace, proof that a monster doesn't need tentacles or fangs to be terrifying. The film's low budget only sharpened its edge. Instead of relying on spectacle, The Terminator uses gritty streets, inventive makeup, and practical stunts to sell its do-or-die atmosphere. But there's more here than chase scenes and explosions. At its heart, The Terminator is about fate versus free will, the fear that technology we build today could come back to haunt us. Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor starts as a nobody and ends up as the ultimate survivor, a transformation that set a new standard for genre heroines. The film's time travel logic is twisty, but Cameron never lets the momentum lag. The pounding synth score and neon-lit gloom make every frame feel like a prophecy. The Terminator spawned catchphrases, parodies, and endless sequels, but none capture the stripped-down power of the original. If you're looking for a sci-fi classic that's pure adrenaline, you've found it. Back to the Future 1985. What if you could go back and change everything, only to discover that even the smallest actions have wild, unpredictable consequences? That's the irresistible premise of Back to the Future, a time travel adventure that refuses to age. Directed by Robert Zemeckis, this movie is more than clever paradoxes and cool cars. It's an explosion of energy, humor, and pure cinematic joy. Michael J. Fox is Marty McFly, the skateboarding every teen who accidentally rewrites his own history with a trip to 1955. Christopher Lloyd's Doc Brown is the mad scientist every kid wished they knew. The DeLorean isn't just a car, it's the most iconic time machine ever built, and it looks just as cool now as it did on day one. The script is a masterclass in setup and payoff. Every joke, every detail, every ticking clock moment snaps into place. Practical effects, clever editing, and a killer soundtrack turn what could have been a gimmick into a pop culture phenomenon. But at the heart of it all is a story about family, identity, and daring to take control of your destiny. Decades later, Back to the Future remains endlessly quotable, endlessly watchable, and endlessly fun. No matter how many sequels or imitators came after, nothing matches the original ride. Great Scott! It's a time travel movie that refuses to get old, and that's its real superpower. E.T. the Extraterrestrial 1982. Imagine you're a lonely kid in suburbia, and one night you stumble upon a lost visitor from across the stars. That's the emotional gut punch at the heart of E.T. the Extraterrestrial, a film that proves sci-fi can hit you right in the heart, not just the head. Steven Spielberg was already a household name, but with E.T., he didn't just make another blockbuster, he created an entire emotional language for childhood wonder and loss. From that first glowing-fingered touch, E.T. flips the alien invasion playbook upside down. Instead of monsters, we get friendship, curiosity, and connection. The effects, all practical and puppetry, are still astonishing. Watch E.T. blink or shuffle across the forest floor. You'll believe, even now, that he's real. John Williams's soaring score lifts the whole film into legend status. Even the most cynical viewer can't help but feel a lump in their throat when those bikes take flight. E.T. is about the magic in the mundane, hiding in closets, Halloween on the streets, the desperate wish for something extraordinary to happen. But Spielberg never lets the awe crowd out the danger. The faceless men hunting E.T. add real stakes. The legacy? A generation of filmmakers chase that blend of heart and spectacle. Stranger Things, Super 8, and countless more owe it all to this little lost alien. E.T. doesn't just phone home, he calls out to the dreamer in all of us. The Thing, 1982. What's scarier than a monster? A monster you can't see, one that could be anyone. John Carpenter's The Thing isn't just a horror film, it's an ice-cold masterclass in paranoia, isolation, and practical effects that have never been topped. Set in an Antarctic research station, the story drops a group of tough-talking scientists into the ultimate trust exercise gone wrong. When an alien parasite starts copying its victims perfectly, suspicion turns deadly. Kurt Russell's R.J. MacReady is the gruff, bearded hero, but every character gets their moment to shine or break down. The cast's chemistry is as frigid as the setting, and you can feel the tension with every sidelong glance. But let's talk effects. From the infamous dog scene to the Spiderhead nightmare, Rob Bottin's creations still make audiences squirm. No digital trickery, just latex, rubber, and gallons of fake blood. On release, The Thing was a flop. Critics called it ugly and mean. But the years have been kind. Now it's a cult classic, worshipped for its atmosphere, suspense, and ambiguity. That ending, still debated by fans, is one of the ballsiest fade-outs in film history. The Thing dares you to trust no one and expect the unexpected. Cold, brutal, unforgettable, this is sci-fi horror at its absolute peak. Robocop, 1987. Detroit is a war zone. The cops are outgunned, the corporations are out of control, and hope feels like a punchline. Enter Robocop, a battered officer reborn as part man, part machine, and all business. Paul Verhoeven's ultra-violent satire slices through the 80s like a razor, disguising sharp social commentary under explosions, one-liners, and an exoskeleton that still looks impossibly cool. From the first boardroom massacre, you know you're in for something wild. Robocop skewers everything: corporate greed, media excess, privatization, even American heroism itself, but it never gets preachy. Instead, it revels in outrageous villains, gonzo TV ads, and practical effects that turn every shootout into a ballet of sparks and shattered glass. Peter Weller brings a human soul to the metal shell. Watching his memories resurface, watching him rediscover his name, it's unexpectedly moving, buried inside the carnage. The suit itself was a nightmare to wear, taking hours to put on, but it gives Robocop a hulking, unstoppable presence. At a time when sci-fi was getting shiny and safe, Robocop was grimy, mean, and way ahead of the curve. Sequels and reboots never matched its sharp edge. Want to see how sci-fi can be hilarious, brutal, and smart all at once? Your move, creep. Brazil, 1985. Welcome to Brazil, a world where paperwork is power, dreams are punishable, and reality feels like an endless bureaucratic joke. Terry Gilliam's dystopian masterpiece is unlike any other sci-fi film, fusing dark comedy, nightmarish visuals, and biting satire into a vision that's both hilarious and horrifying. You've never seen Big Brother like this. Sam Lowry, our everyman hero, is stuck in a gray maze of forms and rubber stamps. His only escape is through wild, imaginative dreams of heroism and flight. But the machinery of the state is relentless, and every attempt at freedom tangles him tighter in red tape. Gilliam fills every frame with bizarre inventions, towering ducts, and endless labyrinths, crafted entirely with practical sets, not digital shortcuts. The film's production was a battle. Studio execs hated the downer ending and fought Gilliam tooth and nail. He responded by running rogue screenings, whipping up critical support, and ultimately forcing a release. Brazil is a work of rebellion in every sense. The humor is sharp, the visuals are unforgettable, and the message is chillingly relevant. In the wrong hands, bureaucracy is the real villain. Brazil isn't just a movie, it's a fever dream, a warning, and a love letter to the oddballs who refuse to conform. Watch it once, and you'll never look at paperwork the same way again. Predator, 1987. The jungle, hot, dense, teeming with threats you can't see. And then, something even the best soldiers can't explain starts hunting them. That's Predator, a film that grabs the action genre by the throat and injects it with pure, unfiltered science fiction terror. Arnold Schwarzenegger's team of elite commandos expects another day at the office until the hunter from another world shows up, invisible and absolutely ruthless. Predator's genius is its simplicity. The story builds tension with every snapped twig, every distorted shimmer in the trees. The creature itself, brought to life with animatronics and one of the greatest practical suits ever built, remains a gold standard in monster design. No digital camouflage here, just a guy in a rubber suit stalking through the real jungle, making you sweat in your seat. The cast is a who's who of 80s machismo, wisecracking, bickering, breaking under pressure one by one. But Predator isn't just about bullets and biceps. It's about what happens when the hunters become the hunted, and the toughest man alive has to outsmart something truly alien. Lines like, "If it bleeds, we can kill it," became instant classics. The sequels and crossovers tried to recapture the magic, but none matched the raw tension and in-your-face energy of the original. Predator isn't just action or sci-fi, it's survival of the fittest, turned up to 11. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, 1982. What do you get when you mix operatic revenge, philosophical musings, and a budget of mostly rubber bands and hope? You get Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, a film that not only saved the Star Trek franchise, but showed the world that sci-fi can have soul. Forget the campy space adventures and hammy costumes. Wrath of Khan brings pathos, high drama, and a sense of real danger. Ricardo Montalban's Khan is one of cinema's great villains, charming, vengeful, and obsessed. His war of wits with William Shatner's Captain Kirk gives the story emotional weight, while the themes of aging, sacrifice, and mortality elevate every line. It's more Shakespeare than space opera, yet it never forgets to deliver phaser blasts and starship chases. The space battles are ingenious, a ballet of practical model work, lighting, and tension. This is the film that made the needs of the many a pop culture philosophy. It's also the movie that left grown adults sobbing in theaters. Spock's farewell scene is pure cinematic heartbreak. Critics and fans both embraced it, and every Star Trek movie since has lived in its shadow. The Wrath of Khan is proof you don't need a massive budget, just brains, heart, and a little stardust. The Road Warrior Mad Max 2, 1981. How do you reinvent the action movie and still find time to look cool in leather and drive a V8 Interceptor? You make The Road Warrior, George Miller's gasoline-soaked, tire-squealing epic that turned the Australian outback into the world's wildest sci-fi wasteland. Forget shiny tech, this is science fiction stripped to the bone, powered by grit and wild stunts. Mel Gibson's Max is the ultimate lone wolf, battered, haunted, and just looking for fuel and a reason to keep going. But survival isn't easy when you're up against mohawked marauders, flamethrowers, and a convoy chase so chaotic it looks like an adrenaline dream. Every explosion and car flip happens for real. No green screens, no computer wizardry, just pure, raw filmmaking danger. The impact? The Road Warrior redefined the post-apocalypse for decades. Every dusty desert, every war rig, every feral kid with a boomerang owes a debt to Miller's vision. Hollywood copied it, video games worship it, and every action fan has it burned into their brain. You can almost smell the gasoline and leather. The Road Warrior isn't just a movie, it's a high-octane fever dream that's never been topped. Escape from New York, 1981. Picture this, Manhattan, transformed into a giant, lawless prison. The bridges are mined, the streets are run by gangs, and the president's plane just crashed in the middle of it. Who do you send? Snake Plissken, a one-eyed anti-hero with a chip on his shoulder and no patience for authority. Escape from New York is John Carpenter at his most punk, blending dystopian grit with comic book cool. Kurt Russell's Snake is a masterclass in charisma, barely saying a word, but stealing every scene. The sets are grimy and real, shot in the ruins of St. Louis after dark, giving the film a sense of real-world decay. Models and miniatures create a believable cityscape without a single computer trick. Every character is memorable, from brainy sidekicks to ruthless crime lords, making the city feel alive, unpredictable, and always dangerous. Carpenter's synth score pulses under every chase and shootout, and the film's dark humor keeps the mood from ever getting too heavy. Escape from New York is more than a rescue mission. It's a sly commentary on authority, punishment, and the American dream gone sideways. The influence? Everywhere. Snake became an icon, inspiring video games, comics, and a generation of anti-heroes who wish they were half as cool. The Abyss, 1989. Dive deep. literally, with The Abyss, James Cameron's ambitious underwater odyssey that pushes sci-fi into uncharted territory. Forget aliens in the stars. Here, the unknown is lurking miles below the waves. When an American sub sinks near a deep-sea drilling platform, a civilian team is forced to join with the Navy to pull off a dangerous rescue. What they find isn't just cold water and pressure, it's something alive, glowing, and totally mysterious. Cameron went all in for authenticity, building massive water tanks and keeping his actors submerged for hours. The result is a sense of claustrophobia and tension you can almost feel in your lungs. The film's practical effects are legendary, from real mini-subs to the famous water tentacle that wowed audiences and pioneered CGI without letting it overshadow the practical magic. The heart of The Abyss isn't the tech, it's the human drama. Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio play a divorced couple forced to trust each other to survive. The stakes are personal and global, and Cameron juggles both with ease. The director's cut reveals a deeper, even more haunting message about humanity's place in the universe. If you want sci-fi that's daring, immersive, and emotionally raw, The Abyss goes deeper than you ever expect. They Live, 1988. You ever wonder if the world is exactly what it seems, or if there's something much, much darker behind every smile and billboard? Welcome to They Live, John Carpenter's most subversive and weirdly hilarious sci-fi punch in the face. Roddy Piper stars as a drifter who finds a pair of sunglasses that reveal the secret. Society is run by aliens, hiding in plain sight, using subliminal messages to keep humans asleep. The premise is bonkers. The execution is genius. The effects are practical and grimy, with aliens that look like walking nightmares and sets dressed in obey and consume. The humor is sharp, the action is over the top, and Piper's line deliveries, especially during the epic alleyway brawl, are legend now. Carpenter turns paranoia into popcorn entertainment, giving you plenty to laugh about and even more to chew on. They Live isn't just a movie, it's a meme, a warning, and a secret handshake for anyone who's ever felt that something about modern life just isn't right. It's as timely now as it was then. Just remember, the sunglasses might be fiction, but the questions they raise are all too real. And there you have it. 15 legendary sci-fi movies from the 1980s that still crush the competition. These films didn't just change special effects, they changed what we imagine is possible. So, which classic from this list still leaves you awestruck? Or did your personal favorite miss the cut? Drop your hottest take in the comments and let's get a real sci-fi debate going. Hit subscribe for more deep dives into movie magic, and remember, greatness never goes out of style, especially in sci-fi.